Well, I think some of the key issues to do with Singapore and the potential use of nuclear energy is very similar to the concerns of many nuclear countries or the IAEA as well, which is security, safety, and the safeguards. Potentially a greater concern is the size of Singapore. The fact that we don't necessarily have the land area or the space to put in place a lot of the safety requirements, a 30-kilometer safety radius, for example. We just do not have the land capacity to be able to do that in a safe way. Of greater concern, of course, is the current technology that's available. Given Singapore's small size in general and relatively smaller energy requirements, there's potentially no need for the current Gen 3 large reactors to be sited in Singapore. The land and space constraints is one thing, but the fact that we don't necessarily need such a huge reactor is another. There's been talk about smaller modular reactors as being a potential option for Singapore in the future, but the issue with new technology is exactly that. It's new, it's not proven. And when it comes to technology like nuclear, where an incident, an accident, potential leak could have severe impact in terms of health and safety of people living in the country. I think this issue of safety standards and trusted and proven technology become even more important. And of course, when you look at incidents like Fukushima 311, and the fact that it's within Asia and it becomes a very real scenario for us to address, I think the government has to move quite cautiously when it explores any potential options of nuclear energy. Well, I think that in Singapore, there isn't a very broad-based, in-depth awareness or knowledge of nuclear energy. The government conducted a pre-feasibility study, which is in a way named as such so as to indicate that we are in a very, very preliminary stage of exploration, any potential usage of nuclear energy. And as a consequence, I think that general public awareness is low. This is a concern because I think we've seen in many, many countries, not just the European countries that have a long history of using nuclear energy, or even Japan, which is one of the forerunners in Asia along with Korea. Even within Southeast Asia, the countries that have very clearly indicated that nuclear is a future for them, the countries who are pushing ahead with nuclear plans and programs, even in the wake of 311, in the wake of Fukushima, there is a very strong public reaction. Some of this is of course centered around the fact that members of the public have seen the negative effects of Fukushima. People remember Chernobyl, and those are very powerful images that can be very fearful and of course raise concerns for people about health, safety, and for a country like Singapore that's so small, again coming back to that idea that we really don't have a buffer zone to create any kind of safety area. One thing that happens in Singapore happens to all of Singapore. Something that happens in Indonesia will happen to Singapore, will have an impact in Singapore. Same for Malaysia, same for Philippines, same for Vietnam and Thailand. So I think it is very important to create greater awareness, understanding, such that people don't panic when our neighbors begin to move into nuclear energy, which they have stated that they will. At the same time, that kind of information dissemination can't be in the form of propaganda, of biased or one-sided information that basically spells out all the wonderful benefits that nuclear energy has. I think the information has to be presented in a very fair, unbiased and balanced way so that people have all the facts and are able to actually make up an informed decision and then get behind it. Lack of information, not very good. One-sided form of information also has no benefits moving forward. And I think most of the experts around the world agree today that when it comes to nuclear energy, getting on the right side of public opinion and earning public trust and belief in that kind of technology is critical for that technology to succeed in any market. Singapore's foreign policy has typically always been very proactive. We don't like to react to scenarios. We like to be able to contribute to a discussion on a multilateral or international basis. And I don't think Singapore needs to have a nuclear reactor to be able to contribute to this conversation. The issues surrounding nuclear technology, the potential for nuclear incidents or even an accident, is that this effect will be transboundary in nature. Nuclear contamination will not stop at a border, for example. We've seen that with issues of the haze that affects Southeast Asia from time to time. What happens in one Southeast Asian neighbor can have the effect on 2, 3, or even more of the Southeast Asian members in ASEAN. And I think nuclear will be of a similar situation simply because of the way a pollution effect will be carried on the wind and things like that. So I think it's important for not just Singapore, but for all countries to be part of a discussion, especially within Southeast Asia. We are all quite small and we're all quite close to one another. But I think that a key component of a potential solution for Singapore when it comes to being part of the international nuclear conversation, despite not having a reactor, is to build up the human capital, the human resources, the expertise, and to have scientists, engineers, and basically experts who are able to look objectively at nuclear technology, to possibly take a look at the developments within Southeast Asia and make an evaluation about the long-term benefits, pros and cons for a country like Singapore that doesn't have a nuclear reactor just now. So, and I know some of the universities are definitely kicking off some programs to develop scientists who specialize in nuclear technology. And I think that's a great first step. Somebody used to say that if you're not at the dining table, then you're being served for dinner. And I think it's very important for us to be part of the conversation, to be actually at the table, because the effects that we are seeing in our neighbors in other countries can definitely affect anyone in Singapore. So I think that will be important for us going forward.